With the yo-ho-ho, it's TaleOfTheToaster. Welcome to another Inazuma 11 Aries episode, thoughts, review, thingy thing. In this episode, we open up with a cold open at Alpine Jr High. So, we're on good form here. I'm about 20 seconds into the review. Apparently 2 means 20. But yeah, if you remember my Inazuma teams tier list, yeah, Alpine is kind of like my favourite team from the original 2 trilogies, like, altogether. So, to see them in HD in Aries, that's going to be something special. We beat Zeus in the previous episode, we lost Polestar Academy as well, but now we are just straight to Alpine, and I can't wait to see them. You know, it's cold weather, I better dress up tight. But really, there's quite a bit of explaining to do once we see the Alpine team here, because there's a lot of faces that are either familiar or less so, or they are familiar but for different reasons. Yeah, this episode definitely benefits from having seen an episode of Inazuma 11 Outer Code, the kind of preview series that predates the airing of Aries, to set up, you know, what happens to all the various members of Raimon after they went to go to the football ambassador scheme, and what's different in this timeline compared to previous ones. And yeah, Alpine have like a dedicated one because they've got so much to talk about. First of all, there's this girl playing football just on the pitch. We can't even talk about her in too great a detail yet. She's a brand new character, but we've got more to go over than that, because well, obviously you've got your captain, Shawn Froste, you know, the main man, and it's a little sad because the voice acting in Inazuma 11 Aries is really, really good. Everyone's got great American voices, but Shawn Froste does kind of have my favourite voice of all time in Inazuma. The strong Yorkshire Shawn Froste from Tup North makes the games a delight to play, and that was never present in the anime exactly. Like, in fact, his voice in the English dub of the anime was actually pretty bad. And then that's only for English audiences anyway, and it won't translate to whatever language you might have watched it in if it wasn't English. But yeah, his voice is good, but it hurts that it's just American and not Tup North. But he's also accompanied by his brother, Aiden Frost. And, you know, this is one of the main things that comes as a result of this new timeline that Aries is taking place in. The kind of what's meant to be the Kickstarter for this Aries timeline is that Alias Academy never invades schools, and so the whole villainy of Alia never happened in the first place. But I'm not sure how that results in Aiden Frost being alive. Obviously, he was dead in the original timeline, and Shawn was kind of having a split personality thing going on with him, and swapping to be himself as a defender and then Aiden as a striker before he eventually gets over it. But here in this timeline, they just decided, oh yeah, Aiden can be alive this time. No deadly avalanches to kill off Shawn's entire family. He can just be the star striker of Alpine this time. Does it make sense? No, but I guess you've got to do some things to mix things up if you're going to have an entirely separate set of stories in what, you know, so close to the original timeline. If you're going to go back and retread old ground, then I guess you've got to mix some things up. So Aiden is here to do that, and it's not meant to be weird. He's just here. What might be a little more weird is Kevin Dragonfly from Raimon. He got picked to be the ambassador for Alpine, but I do really like this because it's drawing parallel to the way that Kevin and Shawn had their little rivalry and became mates in the actual season 2. Instead, Kevin still gets to be his ambassador, just well, yeah, it's a different dynamic. Shawn's clearly a lot more confident in this timeline, and we'll see what position he plays, what he can do as we get into things. But yeah, Kevin is going to be playing as part of this team. So we've got a lot of notable players here. Wish I could pretend that my guy Roland Climbstein with the snow on his head and made it into the top 30 of my favourite Inazuma characters of all time list, where immediately after editing him into that video, I then got him on the Scribblio quiz at TXM's charity live stream and completely failed to draw him in any kind of convincing manner and completely exposed me as a fake fan. But this video will re-established me as a Roland Climbstein stan. One of my favourite just random scouts that I would put on my team in Inazuma 11 too and ride him to success. He gets one little line in this episode to calm down Aiden Frost after he's getting angry at this new girl, Bunny, who is the daughter of Alpine's sponsor, Rabbit Food, and she has taken up football a grand total of 30 minutes ago. And yet, she wants to have a notable presence on the match. So I would be angry if I was Aiden. Shawn obviously steps in to calm him down. But, like, I'm more angry for Roland Climbstein because we've got Kevin as a forward, we've got Aiden as a forward, and then this lass, she whips out the 11 license, which is a nice trait because it lets us see an officially Englishized 11 license. I'm sure I've got the picture up in the top right. But it confirms that Bunny is also going to be a bit of a forward. And it also creates a little bit of a plot hole because she shows the 11 license first. Forward is right there in the top corner. There we go. We got focus for a little bit. And only afterwards does Shawn Froste ask, "Oh, hey, what position do you want to play?" Can't believe I've just done a Shawn line in an American accent, but deal with it. She said, in a real country accent, I want to be noticed on the pitch, so I think I'm going to be a star striker. And she decides that there and then. Clearly never thought about it before, but well, whoever prints these things somewhat predicted what she was going to do there. Yeah, she's going to be a forward as well. And that's not where it ends. So we go over to Raimon, and Mr. Yi starts talking the team through the star strikers of Alpine. And yep, there's Kevin. We got Aiden Frost, who's got like a jokey introduction where he comes up as the wrong person and all of that stuff. But the one that kind of hurts, yeah, Shawn Froste, when playing for Alpine, is indeed a forward. And this is even worse for Climbstein. Like, he's got Roland has no chance of getting on the pitch at this point. But I just didn't get it. Because, yeah, you're doing things differently in this timeline. Aiden's alive now, so he can be the star striker. But why is Shawn being a forward as well? Like, the whole idea of the original trilogy was Shawn is naturally a defender, but then he goes up into the forward position to represent his brother and take on that personality. Do you mean to say that in the world where Aiden survives, Shawn also just becomes a forward? Because they're still addressing Aiden as the star striker, and then Shawn is just the playmaker who's also a forward. But, like, why not just have him as a defender? That's what he always was. He can still be the captain, which he is. Like, he's not going to be unimportant by being a defender. This is just the typical Inazuma problem. Why can't defenders be important? Why has Shawn got to be a forward without going through any of his whole character arc that took an entire season to tell before? Now he's just going to be playing up front, and then Kevin's going to struggle to get a word in as a forward himself because it's all going to be about Shawn and Aiden, maybe Bunny as well at some point. When did Alpine become such an offensive team? Don't answer that, Go. I meant that mainly because Njord was quite offensive to his coach, but yeah, the Go Alpine team were definitely very defensive, which only makes this squad even weirder. But hey ho, right, we've accepted it now. No more complaints. We'll see what happens in the match when we get to that. So before we do, we have just one little training scene with Raimon on their own training pitch to establish a couple of things before the match begins. First, clearly all the angry comments from social media, YouTube, Reddit, Discord, have all made it through to Sandra now because, yeah, admittedly, she participated in the Zeus match only to let 2 of the goals through. It's getting worse and worse for her, bless her, and I don't blame her because she's clearly up against very top competition and still only has Splash Guard, but now is when it's actually starting to affect her personally, and realises that she needs to train, get better at this stuff, and that's fine. It doesn't make her a bad character that she's let a lot of goals in, because finally, yeah, it's maybe a little bit overdue, but she is clearly committed to fixing that problem about herself, and finally we're going to see what she can do Maybe not in this episode, but clearly this is back in motion. We are focusing on Sandra once again, and we'll see if she can get better as a goalkeeper, because as long as she's got the skills by the end, then not sure what you've got to complain about. Other than that, we see Kiko making jokes about how Adriano's only scored 1 goal all tournament, even though he's scored at least 2, possibly a third. And then Regina is just moody about Heath again, but that's mainly important to me because it meant that Aurelia got a few lines out of it and she didn't have any in the last episode. And I hate that I noticed this kind of stuff, but right, she's one of my favourite characters. Oh, and yeah, Mr. Yi slips in something about Raimon's best aspect is that they have not fought with each other, which is just easy foreshadowing to say, yep, okay, they're going to have the squabble episode now, they're going to fall out over something meaningless and trivial. Let's get it out the way, I suppose. We head over to the pitch. We get to see Alpine sponsor the rabbit food that Bunny comes from, and Heath Moore's just sat in the crowd eating rabbit food and quoting the ad. And it's like, wasn't it last episode that you did this Omega Maelstrom thing and just body dropped people to the floor and took out Polestar? No, we're just gonna joke about rabbit food now. Yeah, why not? And then, here's something that I completely forgot about and would care to forget again. Elliot Ember's just randomly getting beaten up in an alleyway. What did this have to do with anything? He's already been knocked out of the tournament. He doesn't need to be getting assaulted. And yeah, it even looks like the same alleyway that we saw in Dusk Grayling's flashback in the previous episode. It's like, I wonder if those were his original thug mates that have just grown up only to do this pointless scene with Elliot Ember so he can feel more dejected about losing to Heath Moore. And then he walks out the alleyway and sees that Raimon are playing against Alpine in the middle of a massive TV screen and just stands there and watches it. He could, like, I don't know, go to the hospital, go home, take a rest. No, just stand there and watch football, okay? But we see the formation now for Alpine finally, so Kevin is going to split up the two Frost brothers. Yes, Shawn is a forward, I'm over it now. Bunny is not on the pitch yet. Roland Climbstein is not in the pitch, and he will not be. At least he's there on the bench. That's the best I can say. But the match kicks off with actually something pretty unanticipated. Now, as you'll remember from the Royal Academy match, the 5-minute time limit wasn't the only thing I joked about. The other thing that I really did not like was Polar Bear number 2. Probably one of my least favourite moves in the series. I think it's probably fair to say that one, but if you're gonna have it, like, the damage has been done now. The move made its debut and got that awful comeback against Joseph King in the final second of the game. Like, that's what we don't like about it, but the move exists now, so you might as well keep using it, and what they did with it here was pretty cool. Like, Raimon won the coin toss for the kickoff, and they just immediately bring Sandra out of goal, and they just open with Polar Bear number 2, and it looks like it's going to go for a shot, so at least, I think this is the last time we ever see it, so at least the second time was better than the first, especially because, although it memes on Joseph King even further, it does not go in. But why did it not go in? That's the weirdest part yet. So again, the Frost Brothers dynamic, as I saw it from the original trilogy. Shawn, defender. Aiden, star striker. Merge them, you get Shawn as a forward who can defend. Or keep them separate, it should be Shawn defender and Aiden forward, right? But what they do here, they get Aiden to do a shot blocking move. What? He runs all the way back to the goal and does actively a brand new blocking move to stop the ball, stop Polar Bear number 2 outright, meaning yeah, he's better at goalkeeping than Joseph King. And then the move itself, it plays with my head. It's a move called Ursa Binder, except he always says special move before it. So really, it's special move Ursa Binder. I'm doing the okay hand as though I approve, but like, if I give you the Japanese name, It's called Hisatsu Kumagoroshi Baku. Again, Hisatsu means special move, so in both cases he is specifying that he's doing a special move as part of the name. And then Ursa, I think, is a type of bear, or just whatever he named the bear. It's fine for Aiden's dynamic to be the bear, because he's always been the bear killer. That's, even as Shawn Froste, that was always his thing. But yeah, he's got a blocking move based on a bear that always has to have the word special move preceding it, and it just wraps up this bear in chains, and then the ball like appears in front of him. But whether it's in dub or sub, the name's weird. Special move Ursa Binder, what am I looking at? And why does this guy have it? Just Shawn Froste, Land of Ice? that would have been fine. It's not to say it looks bad, it's just weird. The Japanese name means Deadly Killer Bear Restraint. And it's also not the only Deadly Killer Bear or Ursa special move Hisatsu that we're going to see either. Now, if I may put the Inazuma 11 wiki up on my second screen for a moment so I can read this properly. Aiden Frost gets a goal with Hisatsu Kumagoroshi Zan, meaning Deadly Bear Killer Decapitate. Or, in the dub, it's Special Move Ursa Rager. Like, I think the Ursa Rager thing is meant to be a pun on Ursa Major, the constellation that's like meant to resemble a bear, but every time he says it, whether it's sub or dub, he has to say it's a special move and it contains Ursa just like the last one, but this time it's got a different purpose and this time it's going to shoot. And like, why couldn't he just have two separate moves? Or just, you can keep the bear theme in both, but why have you got to tie them together so stringently with the name? They could just be Ursa Rager, much as I still find that a bit dodgy because it reminds me of a certain bear from Danganronpa V3 and his repeated lines. So if I'm thinking of a bear and a rager, then oh dear. But yeah, like, and also Aiden, I don't think Aiden ever uses his defensive move ever again. Like, it's totally forgotten. He'll have plenty more Ursa Ragers to come, but he's still got to specify it every single time because of the massively long-winded name. And then it's even animation-wise, I'm not that keen. It's not very icy, so I guess that's just not Aiden's thing. It can still be Shawn's. But like, he just does a lot of moves, and then there's always a midpoint where the action freezes to give some kind of symbol to specify which one's happening, and then the ball just carries on going on by itself. And I'm not that keen on Aiden's moves, okay? And then things just kind of continue to tumble because, yeah, we had that line from Mr. Yi before, so that means this has to be the episode where Raimon fall out with one another and have some pointless squabble. And it's like, yeah, this was going to happen at some point, but Alpine are my favourite team from the first 6 seasons of Inazuma, and the match against them is going to be Shawn Froste getting canonically overwritten from his position that I really liked him in, forcing people like Kevin and Bunny onto the team who haven't done anything yet, and then putting the focus on Aiden with his special moves that I don't really like, followed by Raimon falling out with each other. And it opened with Polar Bear number 2, one of the worst moves ever. So like, this hasn't gone that well for me so far. I'm still enjoying it because Alpine in HD is wonderful, and the banter between Shawn and Aiden is still really good. But yeah, I'm kind of waiting to have the match with Alpine that I'd been set up for, but there's plenty more to come. The first half is actually over now. Alpine winning 1-0 at the end of the first half, but I'm sure the second half will be a lot more action-packed once Raimon have gotten done squabbling with themselves. Even Maxime's joining in with it. You're supposed to be the captain, and all that role has only ever transferred to you just getting involved in stopping arguments. Now even he's doing it. Just, why are you here, bro? We do go back to the second half within this episode, though, and Aiden, he'd kind of been focusing his teasing on Trevor Cook, the defender, up to this point. Like, most of Raimon were just falling out with each other all on their own accord, but Aiden was deliberately winding up Trevor Cook with comments about his dad owning a fish restaurant and that's why he stinks. So he's kind of got an excuse to be angry. Sandra kind of helps to snap him out, but it basically means that Sonny needs to hard carry once again, and he drops all the way back from the forward position into defence to pick up the slack for everyone who's arguing with each other. And it's like, he's had to do this quite a lot already. Poor Sonny, the most versatile guy in the team. Why are you a forward again? Because that seems like the position you've got to do the least in so far. Regardless, it is time for the equaliser. After Sonny as a forward did lots of defending, Raimon eventually cheered up and made friends with each other. Then Adriano as a forward gets to do a defensive play with a really good sliding tackle. That was actually good to see, and it goes into Basil's Fire Tornado number 91, and into the goal it goes. We are 1-1. It doesn't last long though. Like, the first half may be over, but we've got a lot more to go within this match, just in a short space of time. Shawn and Aiden, they are going to get the next goal together with their collab shooting move, and that's a move called Cold Front. And it is admittedly really cool. Like, it's just basically a two-person version of Eternal Blizzard. It doesn't add anything on top of that, but Eternal Blizzard was already one of my favourite moves, so having a two-person one is a bit of a dream, really. Like, seeing Shawn and Aiden do Eternal Blizzard together, yeah, really like that. Not sure if we'll even see the normal Eternal Blizzard in this season, but we've got Cold Front for a reason. It's obviously, that's why they wanted Shawn to be a forward, just so that we could have the two-person Eternal Blizzard between him and his brother. Would I say, as a big Eternal Blizzard fan, is Cold Front worth it, or would I have preferred Shawn as a defender? Yes, I would still say Shawn as a defender, but this is a cool move. It does score. Sandra's very upset about it once again, and it's back to Alpine in the lead. But it really doesn't last long, because what happens next might even be my favourite goal of the match. To bring it up to 2-2, they kick off. Sonny kind of runs to the middle of the field, finds an opening, and just boots it in with a long shot. I couldn't have possibly seen it coming. I was waiting for either a Sandra narrative to set something up, or maybe it was time for one of our other forwards to do it with a special move. But no, he just finds a little opportunity in the centre field and just gets it straight in. That was my reminder. Okay, yeah, he may have had to run back to defending, and he's got one of the most versatile midfielding moves in the game, but Sonny is a forward for a reason, and that is one of the most impressive goals he might ever do. It does bring the episode to an end, though. Roland Climbstein's just chatting with Quentin Rachner on the bench, while Kevin looks over and he's like, I think it's time for her. Implying Bunny, of course, is finally going to be on the pitch in the next episode, so you don't get to participate this time, love, but it's going to happen. Kevin so far has been a bit of a lost point in this episode, I feel. He's not taken any shots. He's set up a few, but he's not necessarily doing any deliberate mentoring yet, or having much of a dynamic with the Frost brothers. He's just kind of there at the minute, and he's another one of those characters where it's weird hearing him with an American accent. It feels a bit disconnected because he's already in the Alpine kit, which he looks out of place in on purpose. So, like, this does almost feel like a different character entirely, but maybe next time we'll get more Kevin, alongside Bunny, alongside Roland Climbstein. We will not. And all of the Frost brothers, Sandra, I could keep going. So come back for the next episode where we'll see how Alpine gets better from here. And we're going to do the outro properly this time. Dit is niet normaal meer. Is that better? Is that better? Help me improve, please.